Hello, and welcome to the Oregon Files podcast. We are novice podcasters simply for entertainment. If we misquote or offend, it was not on purpose to do so. Also, we're recording from my spare bedroom upstairs. We might have a chihuahua or two come through. You might hear some neighbors, birds. Anyways, today we have a special guest, but first, my co-host, Elliot Bowman.
Thank you, Mark. Also, a quick thank you to our friend Lori down in Klamath Falls for letting us chat with her and talk about her story and what she's doing with cold cases and missing person, including the story around her dad, Winston. We really appreciate her taking the time to talk to us about all that. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. And you can find us anywhere where you get your podcast. Mark puts it on YouTube. On the Instagram page, there's a link to all the directories where you can download podcasts. So you got a lot of options. And talking about options, our good friends at Two Shy Brewery, they have a lot of options for your seasonal beer, your yearly beer. One of my favorites is Everything is Awesome. They have wine, cider, soda for the kids, rotating food trucks. They're also over in Reedsport and Bandon. They just bought the Bandon Pizza and Brewing Company. If you want to check them out, go on to their Instagram page as well, and they post a lot of information about what they have going on. Like Mark said, we're doubling down today on the Laytons. He hasn't said that part yet, but we do have a special guest, Mark's brother. I'll let him introduce him.
All right, yes, today our special guest. Before I get to him, though, one more sponsor here. We have Video Games Plus and Level Up Frozen Yogurt open 7 days a week off Stevens and Roseburg. Level Up Frozen Yogurt has new flavors every month. Some are dairy-free and over 50 toppings, including fresh fruit. And yes, you got to build it yourself. It's one of those yogurt things. You got to do it yourself, and then you pay at the end before you get your spoon. And then also, too, though, when I say Video Games Plus, they have all kinds of cool stuff, too. They got new games, used games, disc golf, shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. And as we come up on the holiday season, it's only a couple months till Christmas. Definitely hit them up for your gift cards. They have really cool gift certificates they have available. They're like giant mushrooms. And just one-stop shopping.
They have good Black Friday deals, too.
Oh, yes. The Black Friday deals are really good, too. Yes. So, Level Up Frozen Yogurt, Video Games Plus. Now, our guest. Dave, how long would you say we've known each other?
Too long, really. Oh, goodness. Like 38 years, I think.
Is it that long? Has it been that long?
It's been that long.
Wow.
Who's old? I don't even know.
I'm the older one.
Okay. But I'm the more mature. So
yeah, Dave's more mature. Yeah. I'm the older. It's true. I was 83. He's 85. Okay. But Dave's way more mature. Like I would trust him with my money. Oh, that mature.
Like I had the beard first.
Yeah, he had the beard first.
The guy that shows up in a Ghostbusters outfit to record a podcast.
Yes.
He's the more mature one.
For listening audiences, if you go to our Instagram, there's gonna be a photo of my brother in his amazing Ghostbusters outfit. First person to show up ready to do a podcast in costume. I love it. In character. Because this is going to be a Halloween episode.
It is Halloween episode. Episode 43 or 2. Somewhere between 40 and 45. Somewhere in there.
I love it. All right. So, Dave. So, Dave's our special guest today. And Dave, you don't live in Roseburg anymore. You did a stint here in Roseburg.
Yeah, but a long time in Roseburg, but now I live down in Medford area. Moved down there for work. Everything's going pretty good down there.
I like it. And you live in a little, is it a suburb or do you call it White City?
It's White City, yeah. It's just outside Medford, 5 minutes, maybe. So it's a nice little town.
Very nice. Very nice. And so now you're bringing us, first of all, you're going to bring us a story from that neck of the woods, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple from you to choose from.
Ooh.
So
we want all of it. We want all of it. So since you're the guest, I think you get to go first with your first story here.
Okay. Do you want so I have like a spooky one, and then I don't know, it's kind of like a more of a disgusting one, but was brought to me by several of my coworkers. They're like, you need to mention this. I'm like, okay.
So where do you work at down there?
So I work for Asante Healthcare Service. I work for a sleep clinic. It's APP, Pulmonary Consultants and Sleep Specialists is the full title.
Dang.
So it's
that's a business card.
Yeah, it's a pretty good office.
You're one of the IT guys?
Well, that's the joke around the office. I'm basically the IT guy that's there. Now I work with compliances for CPAP machines. So I'm in charge of making sure the providers get the information they need to discuss with the patients how their machine's going, how their therapy's going.
Very cool. Very cool. All right.
All right.
Yeah, let's do the spooky story first.
Spooky
Then
one
we'll go do the
first.
gross one.
Okay. This is an article that can be found on Southern Oregon University's website, siskiyou.sou.edu.
Thank you for citing the
Right.
reference.
For anyone
Yeah,
that's checking.
yeah.
Yeah, make sure.
Yeah.
It's called A Southern Oregon University Haunting, a story not for the light of heart. There, Morgan Greer's the author. There are legends of hauntings, paranormal encounters in many of the buildings on the Southern Oregon University campus. It is rumored that a little boy drowned during the construction of the Suzanne Holmes Residence Hall back in the 1940s, and that he still haunts the basement late at night. Another building on campus, Churchill, is said to be haunted by the ghosts of students who committed suicide.
Oh, boy.
Though some evidence exists, and some have personally experienced paranormal activity in the variety of these places, the SOU Foundations, or more commonly known as Plunkett Center, is by far the most haunted. The building sits at the edge of campus, stark white and picturesque, with tall columns and a board wrap around the porch. On the inside, the wood is stained dark, and there's furnished dining room, exquisite works of art depicting love scenes from the 1700s, and the signing of the Constitution and black and white photos of old Ashland.
Huh.
The Plunkett Center was originally built for Charles Chappell, a prominent member of the Ashland community in the early 1900s. The house was inhabited by the Chappell and Swedenborg families before becoming a part of the Southern Oregon University campus. The most haunted regions of the Plunkett Center are the basement and the attic. As the story goes, one of the previous inhabitants of the house haunts the attic, who is displeased by swearing.
What?
Yeah,
At a college?
Oh
boy. Oh boy.
He's
Not
probably
sure
like
how-
an old dean or like a teacher or something.
Yeah.
Keep it down. Or a librarian. No, I don't know.
I don't know. So I just thought it was kind of funny. Down in the basement, visitors have recalled feeling chills, dizziness, or just completely uncomfortable.
I wonder how they like make it known they don't like swearing.
I was going to say the same thing.
Like they just,
Someone cusses and you just hear a knock on the wall.
or like just shh,
yeah, he's
Yeah.
a
Just
shush. Yeah.
don't swear.
That would
He rattles a
That'd
little
be
chain.
great.
Right.
I'd probably swear more if that happened.
Right.
The Southern Oregon Paranormal Club goes on spirit walks through the haunted parts of the Southern Oregon University campus, and when going through the Plunkett house, there's often ghostly encounters.
Ooh.
Staff advisor for the Paranormal Club, Daniel Tharp, stated in an email that there was one spirit walk that I did where we heard some sounds down in the basement. Several people went in to investigate, and they felt very uncomfortable down there. They came back up, locked the door, and we continued the tour. After a time, those same individuals came back to unlock the door. When they tried to, a blue arc of electricity shot off the doorknob.
What?
This would be a normal occurrence with carpeted floors. However, they went to do it again immediately afterwards, and it happened again. The static electricity should have completely discharged the first time.
So it's a ghost with some sort of, were they like electrocuted at one point? Now they're
yeah.
just like charged up with like electricity?
I've watched a lot of ghost hunters. I feel like this is just an electrical issue at this old building.
Yeah.
It might be. The
love
basement of the Plunkett Center has also been formally investigated by a paranormal group called IPRG. The group measured the EMFs, or electromagnetic fields, which are often associated with the presence of the supernatural. The group found the EMFs to be very high in the basement. This could be an entity, or it could be something paranormal investigators call a fear box, a place where with high EMFs that makes people feel similar sensations to a haunting.
Oh, okay.
Those who work at the Plunkett Center all have had some encounter or hair-prickling moment with the various entities in the house. One staff member who works in the Plunkett Center, Lisa Parcell, stated that everyone who works there has experienced something. Often the doorknobs jiggle or sometimes doors slam. The activity is intensified after the center has been used for an event, usually in the mornings and evenings when there are few staff in the building. If any student ever walking through the Oregon campus and feeling a little adventurous take a walk through the Plunkett house. They might just get a fright and a scare.
Now, would that be something that you would do?
I would do the ghost tour on that.
You
I
would do
I
that?
would definitely do the spirit. I've done it in Portland.
Right.
I love those kind of things.
Would you, Dave? Do you
I
like that? You
don't
like
know.
that
I would. It'd be one of those like kind of. I mean, I'm sitting here dressed in a Ghostbusters outfit.
That's
I would look at it. I'd be like in the like Lewis Hole in the movie, like looking at like I'll shoot it from a distance.
Right.
But no, I don't think I could actually go in. It just would be too weird.
Do you like the paranormal stuff?
I sometimes,
Yeah.
but there's other times where it's like I can't. It's just too much, and so
Yeah. 'Cause I know Mark dabbled in the when you did the Portland.
I did the Portland ghost tour. That was pretty good. So the funny part is, I don't know if you recall this. It'll be good for our listeners. Our mom and grandmother were a bit intuitive on that kind of stuff a little bit. And I remember when we were living out in Glide, and our grandma came to breakfast, and she said that my friend Helen sat on my edge of my bed last night and said goodbye. And about 5 minutes later, the phone rang to tell us that her friend Helen had passed away.
Mm.
I always thought that one was really
That's
eerie.
weird. Yeah.
And our mom would, once in a while, she would just out of nowhere, she would say something about somebody, and then we would get a call about that person.
I feel like I've seen that a couple times.
It tripped me out a lot. But the Helen story with grandma was one of the weirdest ones. Like, to have those kind of dreams. But mom was real good with the intuitive stuff too.
Yeah, I've seen. I've been witness to a couple of
Right?
events.
She would call and ask weird questions sometimes. Yeah.
I think Roseburg has a similar walking tour of haunted places. I can't remember what it's called. But,
Okay. Is it the website that came up after we started our podcast?
Yeah.
Oddly talks about every single
Right.
thing we covered in our first 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Right.
Yeah. Historic walking tour.
I don't think I could
Yeah.
do anything haunted like that.
In a group, it's okay. I have to be in a group setting. I won't do it by
As
myself.
long as
or
I'm in
one
the
of us.
middle.
Yeah.
I can't be front or back.
Yes, you gotta be.
I can't be the first to spot it and the last to spot it.
No,
you know?
yeah,
I
it's
gotta
gotta
be
be
in the
a group.
middle. Right. Holding somebody's hand. Stranger or family, I don't care.
To really see something you can't explain is really hard to get
Right.
past sometimes,
Right.
And the one episode of Ghost Hunters, I mean, there's one where they had a dog. They had a dog for like 6 episodes. And I think people said, look, take the dog away because the dog's getting scared.
Right.
But they're walking through a hotel. All of a sudden, the dog dead stops on camera, starts barking at a wall. And the best part is, and the dog loses his mind, like holding this dog back. And the next thing you know, then they go on a tour with the guy. Goes, oh yeah, everyone sees a ghost at this wall. And the best part is, I remember that one of the guys is like, well, I'm out. He's like, but that was to me though, how
Creepy.
because the dog's not in on it, right?
Right.
The dog's not in on the joke.
Right.
He's seeing something we're not seeing.
Or when they they use the ghost boxes.
Oh,
And they record and they go back later to listen to what they heard.
Yeah.
And there's that one episode was the Josh Gates when they went to the LOE State Hospital and the little girl died in the bathtub and they went and played back the audio later and they just heard the word cold.
Yeah. Like how do you pick up on the
Freaks me out.
Oh,
Right.
not right. Yes.
And you clearly hear somebody saying the word cold and it's where the little girl they died in this bathtub.
yes.
Nope.
Yeah. So, yeah. Those things can happen. I would do it though. I really, really would do. But like I said, I gotta have to be in a crowd.
Big
It's gotta be
group,
big.
yeah.
It's gotta be bigger.
Would you stay overnight somewhere though?
I would for the experience. I really would. The only time I've ever. So when I worked in, this is going to be for people in Roseburg, One Champion Plaza. Umpqua Bank used to have a little office there. It wasn't open to the public, but for back office, just a couple of rooms down from Henry's Donuts. Anyways, I worked late one night. It was about 8, 9 o'clock. I was leaving. It's already dark out. And I thought for sure I was the only one in the building. And it shouldn't be a haunted place. It's a newer building, right? I'm walking out and I see one of the manager's offices I'm walking by. And I could clearly see to this day, and the image is burned in my head, someone's leg, they're sitting in a chair. So in the corner of my eye, I see someone's leg in a chair.
No, man.
And enough to where I thought it was a fellow supervisor. So I turned to say, hey man, what are you still doing here? I got about the, hey man, what are you, and there's nothing in the room. All my hair stood up. You know what I mean? I never ran to a door so fast. My favorite part was if the security camera, I wish they had it, is me running out of the building. Probably papers flying everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
But I saw a leg. I know I saw a leg. It was because I remember it was tan pants because that's what that person always wore. So I've seen that weird part, right? Because they can't explain it. Now, obviously, it was a trick of the eye or some light. Logically, something else I saw, right? It wasn't a ghost leg. I went to the guy who I thought it was. I went and told him. I said, "Hey, I thought you were here last night. I saw a ghost leg." And he goes, "Well, that's weird."
That's weird.
So,
Oh man.
but yeah, in a group. I'd have to do it in a group.
Yeah, we lived out at this house out on the outskirts of Roseburg here in Green, and the previous owner was like an older lady. I don't know if she died in the place or not, but
boy.
this is when my kids were younger and they were already in bed, and the living room was kind of like down the hall from like the bedrooms, and I just remember like seeing a little girl run down the hallway and the lights on. And I'm like, am I tired? Like,
Yeah.
did I actually just see that? Like,
Right?
but I don't know if my mind's playing a trick on me or did I actually just like vision just a little girl running down the hallway when I knew my kids were asleep and the lights on?
So it wasn't one of your kids.
No.
Did you get up to investigate?
No.
You're like,
No. Turn right back around.
Yeah, it's a turn away. Like,
Right.
but it's envisioned in your
Freaked
head,
me
though,
out.
isn't it?
Right.
You had that, yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, what's the
Freaked
creepiest
me
thing
out.
you ever?
I love having a dog to no end, but when it's late at night and I'm just chilling in the living room watching TV, and I just see my dog like perk up
Oh,
and
that's
like
the creepiest.
like looking at not the front door,
Yeah.
but like just kind of looking around, like he sees something. I'm like,
Right.
I stop and I'm like immediately mute the TV and I'm looking at the dog like, what are you gonna do? Because I'm gonna follow you.
Right.
Like it happens more than I want to say, and I don't like it. And I know the previous owner of the house that we live in was an elderly lady that passed away. I have
Oh.
no knowledge other than that.
Wow.
And so that kind of creeps me out
Yeah,
sometimes. But
Heck no.
yeah, I just deal with it.
Yeah. All right.
Dave, great story. What you said you got one that's a little gory?
Yeah, it's a little gory.
I'm excited.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's about the pig lady of Weimar, Oregon. And Weimar's right outside Rogue River.
Okay.
So this is from allthatisinteresting.com was the best article I found.
Okay.
It's by Austin Harvey.
Thanks, Austin.
Yes, thank you, Austin. In 2013, Robert Haney answered an ad on Craigslist. A woman named Susan Monica was looking for hired help on her property, which she had turned from 20 acres of undeveloped woodlands into a small farm, complete with a barn, a home, and livestock. She even ran a wrought iron fence and gate business called White Queen Construction. Monica seemed legitimate, and Haney had been looking for an excuse to revel in the peace and quiet of a simple life. He began working for Susan Monica and doing various odd jobs around the property: carpentry, manual labor, repairs, and the like. Robert Haney's children grew concerned when they stopped hearing from him. On January 1st, 2014, they drove out to the property to look for him, only for Monica to tell them that he had quit 4 months earlier. They would later discover that their father had not quit at all. In fact, he was still on the property, buried in the dirt after Monica's pigs had a feeding frenzy on his body. And he wasn't the only one.
Whoa. And this is recent. That's what's crazy about this one. This has been the last,
Yeah,
20
it was.
years.
Yeah, and I had no knowledge of this until recently. Susan Monica was born Stephen Buchanan in California on July 8th, 1948.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Twist.
Little is known of her life growing up, but records show that she enlisted with the United States Navy during the Vietnam War. After being honorably discharged from service, however, Monica began living as a woman. Her post-military career saw her working as a successful engineer before buying property in 1991, a 20-acre rural farm in Weimar, Oregon.
Wow.
On her own, Monica oversaw the construction of a barn for her livestock to live in, and by 2013 had plans to build a house on the property. That's when she met Robert Haney. As Haney's son Jesse told Oxygen, "My dad and Susan Monica had a deal. My dad would get part cash and would be able to stay on the property. My dad agreed to build a house from the bottom up." But in December 2013, the Haneys realized they hadn't heard from their father in well over 2 months. Naturally, this caused some worry among the family, which prompted their visit to Monica's farm. When they arrived, however, Monica told them that Haney just basically left and asked his children to get his things out of his trailer,
Whoa.
but they knew something was amiss as soon as they saw the trailer. His leather jacket was there, his dog was still running around, and all his tools were there, Jesse said. It made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
Could you imagine
I'm not okay with this.
showing up there and like looking for like a spouse or like a friend?
The dog's like, hey, the pigs.
And the lady tells you just get his stuff and get out.
Yeah. Oh.
After the Erie visit, the Haneys filled a missing persons report with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, but they soon learned even more concerning news. It had been months since anyone had seen Robert Haney, and since he paid for everything in cash, it wasn't easy to tell where he had gone and when. The only person who might have any clue, investigators figured, was the last person to have seen him, Susan Monica. Monica told investigators that Haney had worked for her for roughly 6 months before a personal matter pulled him away. She said that Haney had received a phone call from a family member who told him she had been assaulted, after which Monica claimed he began drinking heavily and his behavior became erratic. After some time, according to Monica, Haney told her that he would be going away, but asked if she could look after his dog. However, there was a significant flaw in Monica's story. Robert Haney's electronic benefits transfer card was used in December of 2013 at a nearby Walmart, months after he had allegedly left Monica's property. Finding the situation to be highly suspicious, police conducted a search warrant of Susan Monica's property, where Detective Julie Daney said they found what appeared to be a human leg that had been severed mid-femur down to the toes.
What?
Then, when police questioned Monica, the story took another strange turn. Monica told investigators that during the fall of 2013, she came upon her pigs one day in the middle of a feeding frenzy. When she looked closer to see what they were eating, she said that it was none other than Robert Haney lying on the ground with his guts all over the place. Believing he was still alive and suffering, Monica claimed to have shot Haney to put him out of his misery. I do that for my animals, and this was the first time I did it for a human being, and I knew it was wrong, but if it were one of my pigs suffering out there, I would have done the same thing, she said. But when police asked Monica what else they might find on her property, she broke down, and immediately became clear that Haney was not, as she had claimed, the first person she killed.
Ooh.
On a map of her property, Susan Monica pointed to a spot in the middle, marked with an X, and told investigators that's where they would find Steve. Steve, I can continue.
Yeah.
It's too much. Steve, or Stephen Delicio, was another former handyman of Monica's who worked on her property in the summer of 2012, a full year before Robert Haney arrived. Monica had an explanation, of course, as for why Delicino's body was buried on her property. According to her, while Delicino was working for her, she noticed that 2 of her guns were missing. She did some poking around and found them among Delicino's things, but when she confronted him about it, they got into a sort of wrestling match. At some point during the bout, she claimed that one of the guns went off and struck Delicino in the back of his head. Monica said
Wrestling
that...
match in back of the head. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, logical.
Right.
Monica said that at one point during the struggle, she had grabbed another rifle and, standing over Delicino, shot him dead. Having admitted to at least 2 unreported killings on her property, Detective asked Susan Monica if there were any other dead bodies on her property that they might encounter. Quote, she told me that if she told me about the 17 others that she would spend the rest of her life in jail, said Detective Eric Henderson.
Wait a minute. She goes, yeah, there's 17 others, but if I tell you about those, I'm going to be in jail for a long time.
Yeah, that's that. And
that's now the first 2 people she killed and fed to her pigs. She's worried about the 17 others were going to be the tipping point.
Yeah, that's the only time you hear about that. Is Monica's claims about putting Haney out of his misery or killing Delicino in self-defense carried little weight when it came time to examine the case in court. Firstly, these claims do little to explain why Monica hacked the bodies to bits with an axe.
Ugh.
Moreover, her stories kept changing. While she initially claimed to have shot Delicino in self-defense, she later claimed that he repeatedly shot himself in the head, and none of her stories matched forensic evidence collected at the scene.
Oh, boy.
Of course, it was difficult to prove conclusively that Monica had not acted as she claimed. It's entirely possible that she came upon Haney being eaten by her pigs and ended his life out of pity, just as it's possible she and Delicino did get into an altercation. That said, prosecutors repeatedly pointed out that Haney's remains were found scattered across the property in plastic bags, and Delacino suffered 3 or 4 gunshot wounds to the head.
Whoa.
However, any chance Monica had of persuading the jury of her innocence likely disappeared when her strange behavior worked its way into the courtroom.
Oh, boy.
On the less bizarre end of the spectrum, Monica appeared in court in various wigs. An odd behavior, the defense noted, but not criminal.
The wigs weren't criminal, or she wasn't criminal.
I think that the wigs.
Yeah.
It's odd behavior.
That's a great line. It's not criminal. It's just
It's not criminal. It's just hot.
Then a cellmate testified that the defendant signed a birthday card, quote, from the sweetest murderer in Jackson County.
Oh, man. If you're trying to defend yourself, you can't. I mean, we'll talk about incriminating evidence.
Wait a minute. It wasn't a jail birthday card? Like, this is a cellmate. Like, got you something for your birthday.
Right. Is it just written on some like prison napkin? Oh, man.
Monica also personally cross-examined the detective assigned to her case, Eric Henderson, despite having a defense team,
What?
and loudly proclaimed the jury that she would like to demonstrate how I shot Delacino for 10 seconds before putting her hands in the air and doing just that.
Oh, this lady's just crazy.
In the end, Susan Monica was found guilty of the murders of Robert Haney and Stephen Delacino and sentenced to life in prison with a possibility of parole after a minimum of 50 years. The last line of the thing is, I don't know how else I can put it. You valued pigs more than you value people, Judge Tim Barnack told Monica. It may sound harsh, but you are a cold-blooded killer. I see another article.
Wow.
What happened to the pigs? That's what I want to know. And her
usually
farm.
I would say usually cases like that, the animals are put down, unfortunately,
Aw.
because
They got that taste of human flesh.
Yeah, they got that taste now.
Do you think they make bacon out of them though? I mean,
you know
what I
charge a
mean? Like
premium
slaughterhouse
for
them?
bacon.
It's almost like turducken, where it's like the three
You know what
meats
I
in one,
mean?
but it's
Wow.
like, I'm sorry.
That's
was bad.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Pigs
It's like the
that eat
try.
humans, yeah, and then cooked. Oh man,
It's called the Dahmer bacon.
the Dahmer bacon.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry.
not funny. But
Edit
I love
that.
it. That's wild.
Oh, man.
Now she's serving 50 years at the Coffee Creek Correctional Facility.
Oh, we've done some stories on that
We've done.
one.
There's a lot
Only
of
50 years?
it's
You would think, do they
Currently
not
50
get
years, yeah.
life, though, for like
Remember,
that
it's
type
just
Well,
for
of...
she didn't
murders.
tell him about the other 17,
Yeah.
so it's not going to be life in
Yeah.
prison.
But,
Yeah, she's right. She was right.
Yeah.
It's
Man.
remember the wigs aren't part of the problem. That's okay.
Yeah.
The wigs, yeah, life sentence.
but still, I mean, one murder, you just get, I don't know.
25 years.
I don't know.
That's
Doesn't
hilarious.
seem
That's
like,
wild.
still seems like a light sentence to me.
Well, I think she was, I think, probably late 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah, she's
So I guess
50s,
it's
yeah,
really
so 50 years is basically a life
for-
sentence.
Yeah.
Her, yeah, we looked up her picture online and it fits.
It's not,
Yeah,
it's
it
not a
didn't
pretty
tell me-
picture.
It's not.
No.
If you told me this person was a what it looked like it's a dude, too.
Monica.
wild. No, sure.
That's like the definition of the sociopath right there.
You know, this is why you don't go live out in a pig farm by yourself.
or take jobs out in the middle of nowhere.
I don't think that's not.
That's
is that
her.
her?
That's her on
Oh,
trial.
it must be one of the wigs.
It's one of the good.
Okay.
It's a good wig day. It's a good wig.
That was a good wig day.
She
that's a
looks
good
like a
wig day.
crazy Carol Burnett.
Oh yeah, she looks like a neighbor who's going to be yelling. She
A neighbor that's gonna be
she's gonna
yelling.
yell, "Keep your dogs down! I'm feeding
Right.
my pigs."
Oh,
So-
Oh.
all right.
Oh,
Thank you, Dave.
That was
Yeah.
great. Great
Thanks for
job.
sharing.
Love it.
No problem.
All right. Okay. I guess
Go
we'll
ahead,
go. I'll bring up mine now. Mine's a little interesting because it's an urban legend. But do you guys arcades growing up? I remember we go to
Love arcades.
I love a good arcade.
Still love arcade.
Eugene used to have at the Fifth Street Market used to have a place called Wonderland, and they had
It's a
two-
nickel arcade, right?
It was nickel. All the arcades were nickels,
Okay.
and it was 2 floors, and they had every arcade you can imagine. And you would just get a roll of nickels, and you dropped off for the day. And we did that.
Oh yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
best. And
Oh,
Dave and I
it was lovely times.
lovely times, right? Looking back now, even for a nickel in arcades, I'm like, how did that place make money? there's a reason it's not there.
Favorite
anymore.
arcade game of all time.
Oh, police trainer.
Police Train's a great one.
Police Trainer's pretty good.
Area 51.
Oh, that's a good one. I like the X-Men. The X-Men
X-Men,
one was really good.
Mortal
Especially-
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat was classic.
Tekken.
It's like Marvel versus Capcom, I think.
Yeah,
the
that's a good
first
one.
one, because
Yes.
before we moved up from California back in the
Yeah.
day, me and my friends would get out of school and then we'd just walk to the arcade and
Oh,
hang out
man.
there.
Good
and
old
just play
days.
Marvel vs. Capcom
Right.
and Time Crisis.
Yeah,
was
Time
the other- We had
Crisis.
to like push the foot pedal to to reload. Oh yeah.
Yes. So the reason I'm bringing that up is there's a game called Polybius. Now, here's the thing with Polybius. It is a 1981 arcade game that was only in Portland, Oregon. The legend describes the game as part of a government-run, crowdsourced psychological experiment. Gameplay supposedly produced intense psychoactive and addictive effects in the player. These few publicly staged arcade machines were said to have been visited periodically by men in black for the purpose of data mining the machines and analyzing these effects.
So it's Google.
Google
Right,
before
it's-
Google.
It's Google before Google. Allegedly, all of these Polybius arcade machines disappeared from the arcade market. The urban
Of
legend,
course.
right? So,
Middle of the night.
so here's the crazy part is no one can produce a copy of it. No one can produce a picture of it, that kind of stuff. But the only facts that we have are people who say they played the game. The urban legend says that in 1981, when new arcade games were uncommon, an unheard of new arcade game appeared in several suburbs of Portland. The game was popular to the point of addiction, with lines forming around the machines and often resulting in fights over who would play next. Whoever collected the data from the machines, usually these men in black, allegedly testing responses to the game's psychoactive effects. Players supposedly suffered from a series of unpleasant side effects, including seizures, amnesia, insomnia, night terrors, and hallucinations.
What the heck?
It was on approximately 1 month after its supposed release, it had disappeared. The company named in most accounts of the game is, and this is, I'm not going to pronounce it, it's a German, Sinoshkunchen. The word
Sounds right.
right? I nailed it. The
I've
weird
heard
part,
of them.
the weird part of it, though, it's not a real German word. It's because it doesn't fit the idiomatic way of a German word
God,
is
it's probably
made.
some crazy acronym.
Right? It's a word constructed outside of the norms of the German language usage and grammar. Meaning, so in the meaning of the word is sense to delete the senses or sensory deprivation is really what the name of the company was. If it was a real German vernacular, it would actually be pronounced Jinschwak or Shin. So that's what's so weird about it. So it doesn't make sense the name of the company. Now, the game has the same name as a classic Greek historian named Polybius.
Okay.
Okay, so
Not familiar, but okay.
right, yeah,
Believe you.
yeah. See, Polybius,
Yeah.
go way back.
Right.
Now, the first online mention of Polybius is a coinopt.org article in 1998, which extends the legend by claiming possession of a ROM image file from the 1981 arcade machine, claiming to have played it, and on May 16, 2009, promising to bring future updates pending an investigation. There's a flight to Kyiv, Ukraine, the first known printed mention of Polybius. So the first thing online, this guy's like, oh, I have proof of it and I can do an update for it. The guy disappears from Kyiv, Ukraine in 2009. Okay? So it just becomes the GamePro magazine actually did an article of it in 2003. They've all determined because there's no physical proof other than people's memories of it, it's inconclusive. And at this point, it's just an urban legend. What do you guys think?
I believe his story.
It's wild.
It sounds crazy.
I almost feel like it's a Mandela effect thing where everyone remembers this one thing, but it didn't actually happen that way. But I don't, at the same time, I would like to, I want to research this. I want to see if I can figure out what this is.
So it's funny you said that because there's so many people have done studies on this thing trying to say maybe it was this game or maybe it was, something else that you were thinking like that.
Right.
But everyone says, nope, I remember very instinctively playing it. So people in Portland, Oregon in the early 80s played this game for that 1 month. Now, here's the cool part is it's because it's got an urban legend. It was actually in the TV show The Goldbergs. It was an episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, funny.
It was also in the first season of Loki,
Oh, fancy.
right?
Oh, fancy.
Right. And they even made a mention of it in Stranger Things.
Of course.
Yep. Polybius. Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that wild?
It is wild.
Yeah.
Makes
I
you
don't
want to
remember
go
that
to
one.
an arcade.
Right?
Right.
No kidding. Yeah.
Love
It's hard to find a good arcade like that anymore.
It
though.
really is.
Especially
Up and up.
nickel arcades.
Yeah. There's no way.
Everything's like $1.25 now.
Yeah.
You don't even get like debit cards to play arcade games now.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't even really
Look at
get
the
to put
bowling
in the
alley.
coins
Yeah.
and stuff.
It's not the same effect.
It's not the
Like
same.
just
Yeah. You got
No.
yeah.
putting the coins in.
All right.
Do you have a scary story?
I got some stuff.
Oh,
I got
boy.
some stuff.
I'm excited.
Okay. So I found these are like parents sharing the eeriest thing a child has ever told them. So these are like this is off Twitter. So everyone, you can trust Twitter.
Oh, my article information came from, of all places, Wikipedia. So,
Right.
100% fact.
Right.
Yep.
So the first one here is this is like third hand talking, right? So my bestie died suddenly when I was 28. It was a complete shock and I'm still shook. About 6 years ago, my then 3-year-old asked me a lot of questions about what I did before he was born. Middle of answering, he says, "Yeah, I remember we were best friends, weren't we?" Okay. Nope.
Whoa.
Nope.
Ah.
At the age 5, my son drew a portrait of our family of 4 with 2 tiny upside down people. A year later, I gave birth to twins. A child's friend insisted on sleeping with infant sibling, explaining the baby still knows how to talk to God and I am forgetting how.
I'm almost speechless.
Standing next to a family crossing the street and their youngest, maybe 5 years old, looks at me and says, "I'm going to go take your eyes." No expression. Not a single family member even blinked. And I think about that often and still shivered me timbers.
Wow.
Oh, man. Some of these are just creepy. Interesting bedtime chat with my 3-year-old tonight. "Daddy, I had a family a long time ago, and my mummy was called Soshi, and I was called Anki. But then I died, and now I'm with your family. Until my son was about 3, he used to casually refer to me the last time I was alive and things he used to do or people he knew once. He said, I died in a fire. I did not like that. Eventually, this stopped." Okay.
So this whole article is based on that you are reborn, right? It's past lives.
All types of weird stuff. Let's see here. Skip through some of these. When my son was around 4 or 5, he said, "Do you remember back when I was big and you were little and we used to eat lunch by the river?" He was named after my grandfather who used to take me to the river for picnics.
Oh.
Stuff like that
Right?
gives
How do
me
you know?
the
How do you know?
chills.
Yeah.
We took my nephew, he was 5 at the time, to the beach for a picnic. He immediately walked to the edge of the lake and just stared at it for about a good half an hour. We got lunch ready and we told him to come eat. He slowly turns to us and goes, "The lake wants a sacrifice."
I mean, like, all right, we're gone. Let's go. Let's go.
What?
Yeah.
Let's see here. When my daughter was 3 or so, I was driving and we stopped at a stop sign. From the back, she says a remark. "Oh, do you remember? You didn't stop before. That's where we died last time." Okay. Oh, man. My friend was killed during an armed robbery by a bullet meant for me. As a toddler, my daughter one night touched my cheek and said, "The man with the arm stickers, he had full sleeve tattoo who sits on the moon, was so proud of me."
Okay.
Oh my gosh. My daughter would stand up in her crib and wave and say, "Hi, Seesaw," on a regular basis. One day she saw an old photo of my recently passed grandfather as a young man. She got really excited and yelled, "Seesaw." His name was Cecil.
Whoa. Whoa. So
Those are good.
That's why I don't have
And they
kids.
freak me out.
It's one of the reasons.
My God. I know kids can be a little
Yeah.
strange. Kids can they can say some odd stuff, but like when they're like getting close to like they didn't know relatives before and like somehow they are talking to them or like reminiscing about stuff like that, that's where I draw the line and just creepy. I have a story here. It's a little long, so bear with me. It's written by somebody named Charles Dawson in 1912. It's about one of like the early settlers on the Oregon Trail, and it's actually it recaps a story from like 1860s. I guess he told it in an article in the 1912.
So
Yeah.
it's 1912. The article's written. It's
Right.
and it's about
An encounter in 1860s.
So the reason the credibility, because there's no internet yet. This guy's not training
Right.
for fame. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And his
Sorry.
name was Charles Dawson. So it goes, in the late 1860s, my wife and I, with a bunch of our toe-headed youngsters, which is, I guess, blonde, right?
I've never heard that phrase
Toe-headed
before.
Towhead means blonde.
I did not
Yeah,
know.
toe-headed youngsters. We were headed westward, traveling by ox team in a canvas-topped wagon bound for Nebraska. At St. Joseph, Missouri, we joined one of the first caravans of immigrants going westward over the Oregon Trail. In due time, we reached our destination and encamped on the tract of land selected for us, which was well timbered and water-bodied by land. Our new home lay about halfway between the old Oregon Trail and the Little Blue River. We immediately commenced building a home, and with the aid of relatives and neighbors, contrived to erect a habitable log cabin. Gardens were made, and we entered into the cultivation of the promising crops, hoping to reap an abundance of our needs. Nature had by now fully clothed the whole panorama with a beautiful provision of foliage, blossom, and color. Our little world seemed to be filled with overflowing with promise and happiness. Strawberry time had come. The hillsides were covered with patches of this luscious red fruit. One Sunday morning, my wife and I, light of heart, arm in arm, set out to roam the hillsides to gather a full pail of strawberries. See, our pail was full to the brim, our fingers and lips stained from picking and eating. We had to stop, and then feeling the tire of contented satisfaction, we sat down upon a convenient rock, viewing the surrounding scenery, resting before we attempt our homeward bound. Thinking how content we were, just as I began to conjecture the future, I was aroused by an exclamation by my wife, who was now pointing across the rock-walled ravine to a springy spot. Shaded by scattered clumps of underbrush, brushing aside the sleepy tangles in my eye, I noted the cause of her excitement, which I first thought might be Indians. Quite in contrast to the rich background of green were berries, strawberries of great size and blood red, rivaling even the choicest of the same ones we had in our gardens at home. Leaving our already filled pail, hastened over to view the wonderful sight, picking and eating the first few that we came. We decided to take some home and filled my old hat and my wife's apron. As I strode through the thick tangle of brush and leaving patch, my foot caught on an object which threw me to the ground, and on turning over, I found at my feet the skull of a human being. Leaping up, I rushed out the thicket, almost completely unnerved at the ghastly find. My wife, who had witnessed the stumble, leaped up and ran back towards me. Together, we walked back, and I pointed to the eyeless, bare skull that was apparently grinning at us from the moldy, moss-covered retreat from which my foot had ruthlessly torn him but a moment before. Okay.
This is in Nebraska, right?
Yeah, okay. Nebraska homestead. Proceeding into the thicket to investigate more fully, we found that underneath the leafy and moldy foliage of the past seasons which had covered their bodies were bones of many other persons. In fact, our strawberry patch had been the burial ground of unknown dead. So they were literally eating strawberries that were just a bunch of dead bodies. My wife and I, stilled by the presence of the dead, stood with bowed heads and silently offered up prayers to Him on high, who alone could give the solution of this mystery. The old hat was overturned as the corners of her apron were dropped and the berries spilled on the ground, for we both knew without further question what had caused the berries to be so big and red.
Oh, man.
Yikes.
They ate a bunch of them.
Yeah. Then we did a thorough search thereabout for the bones and the unknown dead, faithfully gathering the bones as they lay, endeavoring to each skull its own and full competent of the bones. Finally, we felt that this duty had been performed, and the results were 12 skeletons, which were judged a party of immigrants of men, women, and children. After considerable labor, a grave was dug and the bones placed within and filled with earth and stones covering the top to mark to protect the grave. After supper, we gathered on the doorstep in the twilight of the evening, feeling content and peace, when there came an uncanny, weird moan or cry, that of a woman or child, in the depth of anguish or despair.
Ugh.
Listening in awe, I awaited the repetition of that mournful sound. Soon it came, now in the fringe of the trees about the cabin, then in waist-high corn. Swiftly recalling the incidents of the day, I tried to assure myself that it was not real, that this was the result of my mind, just the imagination. But the children were now crying and receiving non-committal answers, and perhaps reading our faces, they grew frightened and started crying more. To assert myself and the ally of their fears, I rose and said to my wife, "Hand me my rifle. I'll go down there and shoot that old owl." Leaving my wife and children on the porch, I proceeded to search about in the growing corn, around the barn, and all through the nearby underbush. But without result, although I seemed to following the voice from point to point, finally it seemed to be at the cabin. I found that my family had fled within and barred the door. Undaunted, I continued the search, following the clues from where I heard the voice. After vain attempts, which led me to the roof around the underneath cabin, I was too frightened and went into the cabin. There was not much sleep for us that night, for we could hear the cries of unearthed visitors at frequently intervals until dawn or the morning. Night after night, we had much the same experience until we grew accustomed to it, and we were but little disturbed. So they were just like, screw it. You know what? We're just going to hang out with these ghosts. They unearthed the bones, and they were just cool with it. Our neighbors joined us on several occasions to find the mystery visitors. Still, despite the most vigils and search, we gave up, and for not one single object or reason we could find that might be suspected of making the nightly occurring sounds, which the neighbors dubbed the Lost Ghost Woman. Back up. The summer wore on, succeeded by the bountiful autumn harvest. We should have been happy and content, but the nightly visitors have worn on our nerves. The ghost started pissing them off. So after the harvest had been gathered, it was farther down Little Brew River for the winter, as it was too lonesome up here by ourselves. We spent a long winter down there hunting and trapping, occasionally returning to see if everything was all right back at their homestead, but never staying overnight. So we did not know if our unwelcome guests had departed or not. With the opening days of spring, we moved back, for our crops need to be planted and tended, and the first night of return was celebrated by usual performances of the unseen voice. Our wanderers brought us to the burial place of an unknown party of people that had been found a year ago. Here we stood for a moment with bared heads in reverence, swiftly recalling the incidents of the past as we knew of them, praying that we might in some way learn who they were, that their relatives might know their fate. As we realized the improbability, we turned away with dismissed eyes and continued to ascend the hill. A ghastly sight came to our vision. A skeleton of a human being. On closer investigation, we found it of a woman huddled in a crouched, squatting position back against the wall of a cavern, arms to ward off a blow that had stilled her life. Tenderly, we gathered up her bones, carried them down to the burial place, and laid them to rest. The afternoon was spent in the search for others that may be lying unburied on the hillside, but no such were found. A few arrows were found scattered about the piles of the bones, so we all knew that it was the work of Indians. In the twilight of that evening, I sat upon the broad doorstep of the cabin thinking of all these things. Could there be any connection between them and the ghostly visitors? If so, perhaps it would give me an answer tonight. Though I waited and meditated long in the night, I was in one way disappointed, for the voice did not come that night and never again afterwards. To me, the mystery had deepened as the years have gone. Was this the spirit of the murdered woman beseeching me to bury her bones besides those who were previously buried, and who no doubt had met a similar fate? I hope so, and this gives the rest to the soul. Let it be the end. That's it.
I'm just thinking about the strawberries.
Right.
Like, I like
Eating
what-
strawberries and realizing underneath your feet are a
Yeah.
bunch of bones. Nope.
That's
too
wild.
much.
And they just like drop and are like, I guess we'll go back home now.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What a wild story. And
Right.
the crazy part is how, when it was talked about and when it was written, is crazy too.
Right.
Yeah.
What else?
we got?
I got some Halloween candy quick facts.
Okay.
Change it up a little bit here. 172 million Americans celebrate Halloween.
Wow.
What was that all?
32% of all Halloween purchases are made online. Do you know the top costume for pets are?
For pets?
Yeah, top costume for pets.
I feel like it's a pumpkin. But
That's one of them.
Okay.
Number 2,
A bee? I don't know.
a hot dog.
That's fair.
Among those who celebrate Halloween, 96 will purchase candy. 96% will purchase.
96%,
Yeah.
I already get my candy wall up.
They will spend about an average of $31.93. Most Halloween shopping is done the first 2 weeks of October. In Oregon, full-size candy bars are the norm for trick-or-treaters.
Damn right.
That's
Or
what
get
I,
tired.
that's,
Damn
that's what I do.
right.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Overall, Halloween spending is expected to be about $12.2 billion. That is a lot for Halloween.
That's
$12.2 billion?
Makes sense. There's a store that pops up just that time of year.
Over 50% of parents stash some Halloween candy to enjoy later in the year.
Well, why not, right?
50%.
50%.
Most popular searches for Halloween costumes. Number 10, bunny. Number 9, ninja. Number 8, cowboy. Number 7, Dinosaur. Number 6, Wednesday Addams.
Makes sense now, yeah.
Number 5, Fairy. Number 4, Witch. Number 3, Spider-Man. Number 2, Princess. And guess what number 1 is? This is 2023. Number 1 search.
2023.
What do you think it was?
Donald Trump.
No.
I was gonna
Movie
say,
related.
movie related.
Oh, Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie.
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 Great movie.
Right? All right. Most popular candies, according to candystore.com. Number 10, Snickers. This one's kind of surprised me a little bit. This one surprised me a little bit. Number 10, Snickers. Number 9, Hershey mini bars. Number 8, candy corn. Number 7, Hershey Kisses. Number 6, Starburst. 5, Sour Patch Kids. 4, Skittles. 3, Hot Tamales. Number 2, M&M's. And guess what the number 1 is?
Reese's peanut butter. Cups.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Yeah, it's the best one.
And last thing I have here is top 10 most popular haunted tourist destinations in the United States.
Okay.
Number 10, Chateau Marmont, Los Angeles, California. You can invest these.
Yeah.
You can do your own investigating. Number 9, Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia. That
I've
one's
seen
pretty
that one a lot,
popular
yeah.
one. Number 8, Beverly Hills Hotel, Beverly Hills. Number 7, Winchester Mystery House, San Jose.
Yep.
Have you heard of that one? Number 6, Robert the Doll. I don't know what that is, but it sounds creepy. I don't know. Is that a person?
It's a destination. It's a doll.
Is that a person? Number 6, Biltmore Hotel in Coral Gables, Florida.
Okay.
Number 4, I'll have to do a little more digging on this. The Philadelphia Zoo. The zoo. Did like people fall in and get eaten by gorillas?
I'm
and
really
like,
curious.
what's the zoo's haunted? Number 3, Stanley Hotel, the Estes Park, Colorado. Number 2, the Alamo. Number 1, the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. I guess from people committing suicide and like people dying, like doing building the construction of the bridge.
That's amazing. That's pretty. We'll wrap up with dad jokes. Let's do 2 questions. First one was favorite scary movie. Is there a favorite scary movie you like to watch, or your favorite one, favorite Halloween one?
The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, always has a fun
Watched
memory.
that the
for
other
me.
day. Yeah.
So good, just classic. I hate to say it, but Hocus Pocus, just the first one is
There you
just
go.
so good.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's just a good one.
It's classic.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the second one? I didn't watch the
I
second
watched
watch
the
it.
second one. It was okay,
Yeah.
but I think they were trying to capitalize on nostalgia and
Okay.
like, oh, let's just get the originals back and let's
Yeah.
just kind of do slightly different but the same thing, and it just didn't really pan out, I think. So
Bette Midler's
there's no cute cat the whole time. I mean,
Oh,
come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
It's-
Favorite of all time, it's going to be a Poltergeist. I think probably because that's like one of the first movies I watched when I was younger that scared the crap out of me.
Mhm.
And it still just holds up to today, you know? Still a great scary movie.
That's pretty good.
I remember watching that and I didn't know what it was. Like I just stumbled across it late at night and I was watching like, this is really weird. And I watched it the whole time and I'm like, that was a really weird movie. And then years later, someone was like, oh, have you seen Poltergeist? I was like, what was that about? And they explained it to me. I was like, I saw that movie.
That was the movie.
Right?
Yeah.
How funny. How funny. A favorite, I guess, scary movie. I don't know. I guess Sam always gonna be an Evil Dead fan.
Evil Dead.
Bruce
Yeah.
Campbell's one of my
Ooh.
favorites. Exorcism of Emily Rose, because they played the real, based on a true story, based on a real exorcism, and they're showing the court case. In the court, they play the real recording of her talking in the devil's tongues, and it's a little kid being exorcised because
Oh my.
it's very unnerving. And I remember the rest of the movie I did not care about, but that scene where they played the real recording of the exorcism, wild.
And the Paranormal Activities 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
There's things I won't own in my houses because of those movies.
Yeah.
And so I thought those like
Like what? Like a Ouija board or what?
I know, like I think it's the second one. There's a kitchen scene where if you're looking at it's like because they have the cameras all around in the kitchen above the island. There's the hanging thing that you hang like pots and pans on and stuff like that. I won't own one of those.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
because
Yes.
it would sway
Yeah.
or like it was just no, can't do it. Can't do that.
I don't like any of those movies. I don't even like. Yeah, I can't mess with that stuff. Freaks me out to watch
How
it.
funny.
I
Yeah.
did watch have you seen The Witch?
Yeah.
Robert Eggers' The Witch.
With Anna Taylor-Joy.
I wanted that movie to be so much better than it was. And it was not.
I did not
It
expect
was
the ending the way it went.
the goat talking.
Yeah, goat talking.
Right, and she just kills everyone.
Well, now I want to see it because I want to see a goat talking.
It's
Yeah,
one of those
it's
movies
weird.
yeah.
It's like pilgrims or Amish
Yeah.
or something. They get banished from like their village in like 1600s, and this witch abducts the baby, and then like weird stuff just starts happening to the family, and then Anna Taylor-Joy's like the only one left for some weird reason. But
Yeah.
that was. I wanted that to be better than it was, but
That was such a weird movie.
yeah,
It was one of those ones that's hard to watch because you don't know what's going on for like the first like 4/5 of the movie.
Right.
And then that last like 10 minutes. All right, next question was,
Oh.
do you have a favorite Halloween costume, either worn by you or somebody else? Dave, you go
is a
first
hard
because I like your costume
So,
right now.
I'm very happy with my costume right
Yes.
now. But honestly, I just throw back to like growing up and not knowing what to do, and the parents are like freaking out, like, "Well, you need to dress up." Like, all right, let's throw a white sheet over you,
White
cut
sheet.
some holes, and you're a ghost.
right.
And it's just classic ghost costume, and I just always appreciate it.
It's easy to take on and off.
Yeah.
The cost
Right.
levels there. You lose a white sheet, but they're cheap back then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Same. Just never had the creative like mother who was like gonna sew me a costume and go anything more than just like a ghost or
Yeah.
go get like a mask and like you can be like a lion. This shit.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I don't really have any good creative. Even with like my girls, they'd be like, my daughter was like a cat for 8 years in a row because she liked cats, so that was it.
How funny. Yeah. Trev was same thing. I think he was
Yeah.
like a dead ninja for like 3 or 4 years.
Pirate.
Pirate. Yeah.
Right.
Made it easy.
I don't
But
really have any favorite ones from the past.
did you take your girls trick or treating a lot?
Yeah.
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 We went to go trick. We got to go trick or treating a lot. We were kids.
Even when it's raining,
Yeah.
you just drive around, they hop out
Yeah.
and just get right back in the car.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were lucky enough to grow up in Southern California where it was still 90 degrees out,
Oh,
trick or
yeah.
treating.
In a nice
Yeah,
neighborhood where
nice
you
neighborhood,
go
yeah.
8 blocks deep of like trick or
Yeah.
treating. Never perfect like rows.
It was
Yeah.
pillowcase.
You really get pillowcases because you got so
pillowcase
much. Yeah.
trick-or-treating, yeah.
Did your folks did they examine the candy afterwards to make sure there was nothing
We had to.
sketchy in there?
I remember we dumped it. Had to dump it all out.
Yeah, we had to
Right.
dump it all
and
out.
then they would look through it real quick. Take some, claiming that hey, this might be a risky candy.
Yeah.
But
Or you don't like these.
Right.
I was gonna.
Yeah,
You don't like.
yeah,
these,
you don't
okay?
like this.
Right. Yeah,
and
I do.
then we proceeded to divvy out the rest of us.
Right.
Rest of it. So
Yeah.
Did not try a Mounds or Almond Joy until I think I was a teenager
Oh,
because
really?
my mom always confiscated them. Oh, you don't like these?
I still don't like coconut, so I'm good there.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap up with dad jokes.
Dad jokes. Everyone's
Yeah.
got dad jokes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll let the
All right.
guests go
Yeah,
first.
Dave, you go first.
Cool. What's a ghost's favorite breakfast?
A ghost's favorite breakfast.
Blueberries cereal.
Is it blueberries?
Yeah, it's blueberry pancakes.
Nice.
Well done, well done. What goes ha 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 thud? A zombie laughing its head off.
Okay.
I kind of like that one. Good visual joke.
Right.
Love it.
The one that I really liked was what is a witch's favorite subject at school?
A
Witch's favorite
subject
yeah.
at school.
I don't know.
Spelling. Because they cast spells.
I'm so pissed at that joke.
That's-
Oh, spelling.
Spelling.
Oh, I was like, took me a minute.
Wow. How about you? We had 3. I only have 3 as well. How funny.
I'll try not to go more than 3.
What do bread and butter do around the campfire? They tell scary toast stories. Wow. I just learned that author Stephen King has a son named Joe. I'm not Joe King, he is.
Stupid.
I think I've heard that one.
And the last one, this was my favorite. Someone tried to sell me a coffin today, but that's the last thing I need.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How can you tell a vampire has a cold? They start coughing.
There you
Why are ghosts bad liars? Because you can see right through them. Why did Dracula lie in the wrong coffin? He made a grave mistake.
Awesome.
Love it.
That's all we have.
That's pretty good. 9 dad jokes.
Lovely.
I love it. All right. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I was very excited.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, we needed that extra voice just to break it
Mix
up a
it
little
up.
bit.
We
Yeah.
needed a third.
Yeah. Where can people find us?
You can find us on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast. If you own an Alexa, you can tell Alexa, please play the Oregon Files podcast.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And she will. You can go on our Instagram. There's a link out there. There's also a link. It's called Buy Me a Coffee. If you want to support Mark and I in our podcasting endeavors, please donate. We would happily accept your tips and your donations. There's also a link for all the directories that you can listen to a podcast. And if you want to get a hold of the show, Oregon Files Podcast, yahoo.com. Or we've had so many awesome encounters on like Facebook and Instagram, people reaching out, suggesting stories or episodes we've done, just chiming in on things they've heard. So we appreciate, everyone just reaching out, and we appreciate Dave coming here just like a Ghostbuster. I will get a picture here and put it out there.
Yes.
We hope everyone has a good Halloween.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.